you do. Just keep on doing what you do, doing what you do, doing what you do, what you do, doing what you do. Do what you like, do what you like to do, do what you like, do what you like, do what you like to do. Try to express yourself in your own way, and we could have some fun. No problems coming in our way. I would like you just the way you are, and you would like me just the way I am, and I would like you just the way you are, the way you are. Oh, keep on doing what you do, doing what you do. Just keep on doing what you do, doing what you do, doing what you do, what you do, doing what you do. Do what you like, do what you like to do, do what you like, do what you like to, what you like to do. We shouldn't care about anyone who brings us down. Doing what you do, doing what you do. Just keep on doing what you do, doing what you do, doing what you do, what you do, doing what you do. Do what you like, do what you like to do, do what you like, do what you like to, what you like to do. Just keep on doing what you do, doing what you do, doing what you do, what you do, doing what you do. Do what you like, do what you like to do, do what you like, do what you like to.
Yes. Welcome to Lunch Therapy, everyone. This is Joel Marshall. I am in the rain right now. It's raining in Los Angeles, which is quite unusual, but quite welcome. We're so glad to be here today. We have an incredible guest. Her name is Paige Morrow Kimball. And as many of the guests on our show are, she is a multi-talented, multi-hyphenate person. I was lucky enough to meet her in Ojai when we were up at the Ojai Film Festival, and she was winning awards and showing her short film, which is a really interesting film that we're going to get into. It's called Powers. And I'd like you to join me. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lunch Therapy.
Yeah.
Loss.
Yes, sir.
Was that you singing during the intro?
I love that song.
Was delightful. That was delightful.
I love
Yeah,
it.
is
I don't know what's
that?
going on.
It's such a good one. I'm gonna get myself a
love it.
modem. How have you been? You have like a turtleneck on or something, and you're
Actually,
adjusting
these are
your.
right.
Yeah.
These were actually a friend of mine made these for COVID. It's just material, right? It looks like a scarf around your neck, and some people were using them as masks.
Yes, and it's absolutely useless.
Yeah. No, but it's actually keeping my neck warm is what I like.
Oh, I see.
And you're wearing a scarf, and
Yeah.
I've been wearing it every day just because it's colder now, And the jacket
Yeah.
that I wear doesn't have a big collar unless I wear one with a hood, and it keeps my neck warm. It's quite comfy, actually.
Todd Lee says that it was a bit pitchy, your singing, but I feel you, dog.
Todd, listen. Let me explain something to you, all right? Matt could say I'm pitchy. You? Come on, Todd. Let's be for real.
Todd, as soon as
I
you do
produce
a
music,
dance
all right?
break, then you can start criticizing his singing. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
Can
Bloss,
I
are you
sing
gonna
anytime?
are you gonna do a dance break someday? Because
Uh,
already you've promised us that you were gonna teach us a dance, and also, maybe you could sing a song for us too during the dance break. That would be really cool.
I'll tell you what I did do. I researched, I looked up some of my old band performances, cover
Yeah.
band stuff. And I found one song that sounded pretty decent. The audio was pretty good. You and I will go over it to see if it's good enough. And
Yeah.
maybe that'll be a dance break coming up, in the next
That'd be
couple
cool.
of weeks, hopefully.
I would love
And
that.
then I
We got
made
a
up a
great,
small routine
yeah.
that I'll put up for everybody by myself to show you the routine, teach you the routine real quick. And then if everybody wants to learn it, we can show it on the show. And everybody doing it all.
I definitely want that, and then I want the hummingbirds to dance it, and then we'll make like a montage. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That's what I'm talking about. It'd be
That'd
great
be
if
so
they
much
could pull
fun.
it off. It'd be great. I'd
be
love
so
to
much
see
fun.
Todd.
I would love to
dancing.
see Todd doing it too. I'll do it. I'm doing it.
Well, take it
Ryan
easy.
Wack is here. Say hello to Ryan. One of the things about Ryan is that he looks a lot like Jesus. Don't you think?
Oh, almost identical. Look.
He does. He looks a lot like him. Okay, so I want to
bit.
before we get into the show, I want to show something. Healing Vibrations, they're on our show a lot. It's their work is on our show a lot. They have been guests on our show. They are up in Seattle, and they do crystal bowl sound baths and gong sound baths and qigong and all this wonderful stuff. If you go to their YouTube channel, please subscribe. And
Yes, we love them.
yes, so what happened recently is I saw this post from Justin Schumacher, who's one of the Healing Vibrations, the main guy that we see on the screen. People are giving him a hard time, and I want to see, I've never heard about this phenomenon before, but there's apparently, well, I'm going to let him explain it. Here it is. This is a real thing. This is not a joke. Check this out.
Beautiful day, kings and queens. I hope you're all doing absolutely amazing. Today, I am going to call out the elephant in the room, and that is the toxic ego of Instagram. Something that we've always represented is love, compassion, and community. If you are anything of that sort, and if you are a part of the spiritual community, you are a part of the sound healing community, you are a part of the wellness community, we're going to follow you and we're going to support you because, that's what we do. That's what we do. We're here for each other. And one of the things that keeps on happening, and one happened just the other day that it really hit me hard, and it caused me to address this. And that is, people reach out to us, oftentimes people that are big names that have, a huge impact on my life. And they'll reach out to us, they'll follow us, they'll like our stuff, they'll give us our praise, and then they'll send us a private message asking what equipment we're using and get all the information from us. And as soon as we give that information, they unfollow us and they cut us out of their lives.
Can you believe it?
That just shows me your character. That shows us who you are, and that you're not truly coming from a space of compassion or love or community. And we see you, and we see those of you that don't do that. So
Even like just.
Can you believe that?
appreciation for
They
what they
basically
do.
ask him for all behind the scenes stuff, and then they just get rid of him. And these are like, I guess, famous people on Instagram or something like that. Some of his idols. Totally.
It's
uncool.
almost like when they ask people for information on how they do things or what's going on with them, it's almost like they're taking it so they could just use it, or maybe say it's theirs, or maybe
Ridiculous.
misrepresent it or something. And they're famous people, or if they're influencers or anything like that, it's horrible way to behave. You know what I mean?
Terrible.
Horrible way to behave.
All right. Well, in that vein, we're going to do the root chakra right now. We're going to breathe because we need a little bit of grounding because none of this social media stuff matters anyway. Let's do it. You ready for some root chakra?
Joe, can I ask a question of the hummingbirds? Is everybody getting broadcast through all the streaming services?
Yeah, we got somebody from Twitch. We've got somebody from
I want to make sure they're seeing the show. They're following the show.
YouTube. We got Facebook. Yeah, Jesus came in from Facebook, so we're good. All right, let's
Okay,
do
just
this
wanna make
root
sure it's
chakra.
broadcast.
Thanks for producing. I appreciate it because sometimes it's hard to produce and all that. And I'm not stressing out anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm no
All right.
longer stressing out
Good.
because I have my
Oh.
healing vibrations.
Oh,
Howard
man.
is here for the root chakra. Howard, we got a great guest for you today. I hope you'll be here because Paige is an incredible filmmaker and an actress. Actor, however we say it these days.
What do you call it? Multi-hyphen?
Multi-hyphenate.
Is that what you say?
That's like you.
Multi-hyphen.
You're a dancer,
And I
comedian, actor,
Everything you say it. I refer to it like that. I like it.
multi-hyphenate. Whole I equal means equal. Equal means equal is in the house.
There you go.
Do you
One
want
of
to
the
lead us
biggest
in the
words.
breaths, my friend? So we
Yes,
can get on
yes.
with this?
We hope everybody's feeling well. This is a Friday, 4:06, and we're going to take 3 big deep breaths, and we're going to hold the breath for a couple seconds before we release it. Take it in through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go.
I'm shaking it out.
Shake it out. Let it all loose. Take another deep breath. Hold it. Oh, let it go. Out through the toes. Blow it out like a straw. Shake your shoulders out. Let them drop.
Letting the shoulders drop. Equal means equal. Is that Kamala? That is Kamala, I believe. She just logged into her
Okay, so our
EME
last
account.
breath. Our last breath, you guys. Take
Last
a
breath.
big, deep one. Hold it. Let it go. Drop your shoulders.
I thought this was appropriate. This is also Healing Vibrations doing a rain stick. And they've got those drums, like Just Jay Patterson has, the tongue drums.
Oh, it's very similar to hers, right? Yeah. It's
Very similar.
exactly the same.
That Just Jay Patterson can play that thing like a mofo, can't she?
Yeah, she's gonna get better and better. Oh, I like this rain stick.
Isn't it good?
Oh. I wasn't paying attention. I could have brought mine out. I got a nice one. Got a nice
You have one
someone
too?
brought back for me a nice one. Yeah, it's good.
What I love about Healing Vibrations is that they can communicate this stuff through the internet, because it's not easy to film this stuff. They always make it interesting. They did that whole series on the chakras. They did a whole series on the astrological signs. And you can go there anytime. Sometimes they will have a thing that goes for 10 hours. Like a video that goes for 10
Whoa.
hours of them doing all kinds of healing things so that people can listen to it while they're sleeping.
Oh, that's nice.
And you can find them on Spotify,
Some
and you
of,
can find them everywhere. Yeah.
Some of the DJs I know, when they do their live mixes, like on Twitch or something like that, they do like 4 or 5 hours. Quite
Yeah.
a long set.
It takes a lot of stamina, I'll tell you. I asked him about that. He said his arms get super tired. Richard Gaddis says, Cami, I've been watching your TikTok content and enjoying it very much. I've even learned a few things. Yeah, you got to go over to the Equal Means Equal TikTok because there is all this information on the Equal Rights Amendment and how it was ratified and it's not in the Constitution. And there's some really engaging videos that you can share around so people understand that we just got to get this thing ratified like right away, like yesterday. I mean, it should have been ratified 20 years ago or even 100 years ago when it was written. But now it has been ratified, and now we just need to get it published. I don't know. People ignore this stuff. I don't know why. It's only 51% of the population wanting to have equal rights under the law. Seems like not so much to ask.
No,
Kevin
not
was
at all.
working
I
on the
mean, come
YouTube channel too. Yeah.
Come on, man. You know, if you're learning, constantly learning, you're bettering yourself every day. You know? You're never too old and you're never too knowledgeable to keep learning.
I agree. I'm taking classes all the time. I'm telling you. When I get out of this quarantine that I'm in, I'm gonna go ride a horse. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, I can't believe you said that. I want to take Alexandra. I want.
Maybe you'll go with me. Maybe we'll go hummingbirds.
Well, let's go together. We'll
Equestrian
do a remote from there, too.
journey.
Bring something back with us.
Sounds
Yeah.
good, right? Sounds good. And
That sounds great.
all right, so I'm gonna get on with this. We're gonna meet Paige here in a minute. Do you know Paige, Blas?
I met her briefly, but I'm not familiar with everything. I can't wait to hear more about what she's working on, especially the doc that she just finished about the subject that she covered.
It's so cool.
So excited to watch
Powers.
it. Yeah.
Powers, it's
Yeah.
called.
I'll probably watch it after the show today. I didn't get a chance to watch it before the show, so
Definitely.
more likely Celia and I'll sit down and watch it.
So, I don't think you can get it online as of yet because it's making the circuit through all the film festivals. But we'll talk to her about that
That's right.
and about that kind of stuff. All right, so I'm getting into it. I'm letting you go, Blas. I'll see you for the dance break.
Absolutely.
All right. And
Enjoy the
you're
show,
gonna be showing some of
Paige.
your moves. All right, here we go. Okay, I just wanted to prep y'all. I met Paige up there at the Ojai Film Festival. We were doing the panel where we were talking about women and activism and the Equal Rights Amendment, and we all sat in this big circle, and we all shared different things about what our involvement is with feminism and the Equal Rights Amendment, and also just having a voice as an artist and using that voice for good. And she is using that voice has been doing it for decades. She makes films for Sesame Street. She's made music videos. She made this incredible documentary film during COVID, which was called Powers, which we'll talk about as well, which was screening up at the Ojai Film Festival, won the award for Best Short Documentary. She's won a bunch of other awards at the Pittsburgh Short Film Festival and many other film festivals around town. She's just in the midst of that right now. And she's here taking time to be on Lunch Therapy. So let's get into this thing we call Interview Friday, Lunch Therapy.
Who is this artist? Does anyone know who the artist is that makes these fun, whimsical metal sculptures that are attached to telephone poles along Palms Boulevard? Yes, they are delightful, but probably the reason the artist is anonymous is because it's illegal to post anything on public utilities. So maybe anonymous is best. Maybe.
Paige Morrow Kimball, welcome to Lunch Therapy.
Thank you.
So
great to
glad
be
to
here.
have you here.
Thank you so much. That was quite the introduction, Joel. I
All
appreciate
right,
that.
pretty good, huh? Right off the top of my head. Hey, I have been really inspired by the work that you do as I've been going through it, and we met up there at the Ojai Film Festival. First of all, that trailer that we just saw was from the film Powers, which you made during COVID, right?
I did. And actually, the fact is that I made it on an iPhone during COVID.
On an iPhone, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, like, there's that movie called Tangerine. Did you ever see that film? And they're
Yeah.
like, they shot it on an iPhone.
Super famous, yeah.
But it's like, how do you go about doing that? Was that okay? So let's go back a little bit to get to that. How, first of all, did you find out about this topic? This is a woman who makes sculptures and she puts them up on telephone poles. how did you find out about this, and did you investigate with the idea of a short film in mind?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, during the pandemic, I have two teenage girls, and they're in high school at the time. One's still in high school, one's graduated, but it was really tough on these kids, as we know. And
Yeah.
to keep sane, I started taking these walks in my neighborhood, looking for any signs of positivity. And it really helped. I started photographing with my iPhone, just like different signs people would have outside of their windows that said things like, hang in there, we're all in this together. It's going to be all right. One world, one people. It was like really uplifting to me. So I started photographing those things and putting them on my Instagram, posting them. And then one day I saw these repurposed trashed sculptures in the telephone poles that had signs of positivity, like literally signs like that said, be love, big hugs, laugh often. And they were these whimsical sculptures that even just looking at them made you happy. And I was like,
Yeah.
who does these? Who's the artist? I started searching online, couldn't find anything about this person except that other people had this same question. And one day on one of my walks, I literally found myself in front of a brightly colored house with a small sculpture that looked an awful lot like the ones on the telephone poles in front. And at that very moment, a woman came out, and I said, excuse me, are you the artist that does the art on the telephone poles? And she said, why, yes, but don't tell anybody. And it was such kismet that at that moment she came out, right? Into the front yard carrying trash or whatever. But I was instantly intrigued and drawn in, and I just kind of put her on tape that day, on my phone that day. I just lifted it up. I'm a filmmaker. It was my instinct. And I started just recording. And as I started recording, I introduced myself as a filmmaker and said, I think you have an interesting story. I'd love to just kind of interview you and see what this is. And for a year and a half, I went to her. It was an outdoor studio in the back every day. Not every day. I would say like a few days a week, depending.
Really?
And just started filming and had no idea what this was going to be. It was really following my feet and feeling intrigued. It was there was no result in front of me. It was just in the moment, the world had stopped. Those visits with her were just hugely inspirational to me as a human being and an artist, a fellow artist. And as she started opening up to me on camera, she started sort of coming out of her shell as an artist and being okay with being known. She was hiding at first when I first met her. And so
why was she
on
hiding?
a journey.
Do you think?
Well, first of all, she's not terribly sure it's legal to hang art on public utilities, which it's not. So she was a little scared of getting caught. When she started doing this, she became an artist in her 50s. And so late in life, she had a corporate job for years and years and years. So part of the message of the film, as an aside, is it's never too late to find your passion and do what you love.
Yes,
But
that's one
I
of the
think
themes of this show.
I'm so happy. I'm getting that just from seeing your introduction. I think, part of the reason she was hiding was it's illegal. She had, at the time she started doing it, a young son who she wanted to be a good influence with. She didn't want to get arrested. And also she wasn't sure how good she was yet. She wasn't sure how well received it would be. She had some insecurity about her art and if people would like it. So she hid.
Wow. And so do you think in making the documentary film, you helped her as a person as well?
That was my intention. I have to say.
That was your intention. Okay, yeah.
When we give, as you know, Joel, we receive so much more. And my intention was very simple on this. There was no result in mind, but I thought, I'm going to make a segment, a piece, a short doc about a very interesting person. I'm going to give it to her as a gift. And then maybe I'll send it out, see if people like it. And if it's good enough, I'll put it on the festival so people can be uplifted. That was my only intention. It was shot completely on an iPhone 11 Pro by an all-female crew of one. I did
Did you do the audio on that as well?
Yeah. So I was going to say, these things are great. Audio, not so much, right? When you're shooting, I mean, there is an attachment mic that goes right into your phone. The one I used was a Shure SHURE MV88. And
Mhm.
it's like a directional mic, a multi-directional mic. It plugs right into your phone. You have headphones. And
Yeah.
so the sound is incredibly good. If you use, I started just using the mic on the phone because I didn't know what I was doing in terms of
Mhm.
what this would be, that it was
Yeah.
actually going to be a documentary. I thought, oh, a little segment, it'll be fun. Shooting against a brick wall with your iPhone mic, not a good idea. There's a lot of sound
Yeah.
next.
Yeah.
Once I got that multi-directional mic, I was off and running. And then I got like little toys, I got a little cool little slider,
Oh,
that shot
wow.
that motion. You see there's a actually in the trailer you saw that
Yeah.
shot. Kind of built my arsenal as her story started unfolding, and I realized there is something here.
Isn't that interesting how the story became more complex as you were delving into it? And it was almost, you almost couldn't write something as good as that, as what occurred. Like also she had epiphanies
Mhm.
right there on the screen. Like she had, well, I think of the one in particular when she was talking about
Yeah.
her dad having worked for the telephone system. She all of a
Mhm.
sudden was like, oh, maybe that's why I'm hanging art on the
That
telephone poles.
That happened in front of my eyes. That is all. That was sort of I think the second sit down interview I did with her when we were, into the process. And she had that epiphany. And that's the moment I had my epiphany, which was, oh my gosh, this is a film. This is the film that you can have all these traumatic experiences in your past that you can literally turn around into joy to help others. Because, Joel, that's the only reason this artist hangs her sculptures. She just wants to spread joy in her neighborhood. She wants people to see this, big hugs, and go, I'm having this really bad day. I'm driving down the street. Big hugs. I'm going to go home and hug my daughter. I'm going to go home and hug my son. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to remember to be in this moment and appreciate art and beauty and the people in my life. That's the reason. She doesn't sell them. She wants no attention. She just wants people to enjoy them. She's an incredibly inspirational person. And I
Isn't
feel
that
very fortunate
interesting?
to have met her.
Isn't that interesting how, a lot of times if you're motivated by something other than fame and fortune, you're motivated by to actually you put the motivation on helping somebody else. What kind of results you can get. And when you don't even have, like, you're not even attached to the results. Both of you were not attached to the results.
Well, I'll tell you what's been really fun is, she had no idea about the film fest world, or the film
Hmm.
world.
Yeah.
I had done the festival circuits a couple of times with a couple more of my films. And this time I invited her to come. And it was like we were up doing the Q&As afterwards, and literally they would swarm over to her. And I'd be like, hi. And it was so gratifying. We were so excited to meet this
Yeah.
incredible human. And the other thing is that I have to say, we have just won our 9th award.
9.
9 festivals.
And by the way, these film
Yes.
festivals are not easy to get into, and it's very
Yeah.
difficult to win an award. So, I mean, because once you get in there,
I
it's
had
just like,
no
it's marvelous. Yeah,
I
it's
had
marvelous.
no expectation.
Yeah.
Like you said, no, not focusing on the result. So from my end, having this kind of outpouring of love and appreciation from audiences, some of the awards were audience awards, some of them were jury awards, but it's just like anytime you hear your name called, you're like, what? Especially when you shot a movie on your iPhone.
On
and you
your
didn't know anyone
iPhone.
would want to see it. Yeah. So
Have you ever made a documentary film before?
yes, in fact, my career, I came up as a documentary filmmaker. I started in doc, and then that morphed into reality shows. And then as I progressed, I wanted to try scripted. So then I became an actor, and then I created content in the scripted world. So I now direct both. I direct documentary. The films I make for Sesame Street are both scripted and doc, hybrid sometimes. And I like to play in both worlds. I love scripted television. I love working in scripted independent film, but I love documentary. And I find documentary, you can be in the moment in a really pure way and not have not be fixated on a result, but be fixated on creating. And you don't know where you're going, which
You
is
kind of have to be,
really
right? I mean, you have to be. Do you make a plan though? Do you make some kind of a script going? Think I'm going, but as soon as it starts going someplace else, I'm going to go with it.
That's a great question, Joel. So I think the way I approach each film is different. It really depends on the subject matter. This film, I found ways in. For instance, I said, okay, let's make one sculpture from beginning to end and see where that takes us. Like, you try to find your threads. I just shot a film for PBS about the wonderful, prolific street artist Ed Massey, who has an organization called Portraits of Hope. And the way in was his taxi. He did this huge installation in New York City, but he lives in LA. But he did all these flowers on taxi cabs, and he drives the yellow New York taxi cab in LA. So I thought, that's a great thread. I'm going to shoot him driving around LA in this, taxi cab, like fish out of water, right?
Yeah.
So it depends what you're shooting, but I try to find the little threads, but I never decide where I'm going. And the thing you have to realize is time is really good for documentary. Time is not good for scripted filmmaking.
I see. You mean like spending a lot of time?
The more time you give it to marinate,
the
more deepened your story becomes, the more you have a story, and you just kind of follow your feet in documentary a lot of the time. With Powers specifically, it was following my feet. I was like, let's go out on the street today and you can give me a tour of your sculptures. And what happened? People stopped her. Other people like me were like, excuse me, are you the artist? Like, every time we went out, because she was wearing her painting pants. And so they would say, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to meet you. So that became part of the documentary. We went to a construction site because she had, this was, in the film, if you see the film, but she had hung one of her sculptures on a telephone pole. And then that became a construction site of a building houses that were being torn down.
Such
buildings
a great
going up.
part of the movie. That part, yes.
It was the craziest day, Joel, because we just kind of went, oh, the gate's open. Well, it doesn't seem like private property. It's a telephone pole, right? So she puts up her ladder. She goes up. She wanted to protect it, take it down, because she knew the pole was coming out. And sure enough, we get stopped by this, the manager of the site. And what transpires, as you know in the film, is just pure beauty and pure, he totally changed his mind. He was throwing us out. And then just something she said to him changed him. And he went up on the ladder for her. Instead of tossing us or calling the police or whatever, he said, I'm going to help you take this down. And he did. And it was just the most beautiful day. And that's part of the film.
Isn't it incredible, too, if you're really open and you're really kind of doing something for the benefit of others, that eventually people stop resisting and join in.
Amazing how you can find community, because I do believe most people are good. I do. Yeah. I believe there's some bad people, but fewer than the good. I mean, there's many, many good people. And I think if you give them the opportunity and shine your light, they often shine it back.
Yeah. I think so too. Now, you made a movie that is a narrative film called Playdate, and I want to show the trailer about that and talk to you about it in a second here. Okay. So this is the trailer from Playdate, Paige's other film.
What was what?
Queen in a cake.
You and your imagination. So anyway.
Daddy, can you play Candyland with me?
Oh no, baby, not now. My game is on.
To Mars and came down. Whoosh! You got to go to them as ice cream. You want a bake?
Emma, I smell a big mess. Daddy helped you make all this?
No, my friend did.
What friend?
Look, she's right there.
Yay, that I love that film too. It's such a nice. Oh my God! But okay, so this is my question: when you start a film like this, do you start with like, I'm going to make a film about people that are that I don't want to say homeless now. Houseless? I don't know. Do you start out saying that you're going to make a film about this topic, about that, or what do you? How do you begin?
We have to be so careful now. When I made that film 5 years ago, we could say homeless. No, then it became individuals who are temporarily experiencing homelessness.
Yes.
That's really tough on a log line to say.
That is tough.
Now it's unhoused.
Unhoused.
But regardless, this was about, look, I had what I do to create is anytime I get an idea, and a lot of times it's driving, or in the shower, I pull over or get out of the shower. And then I email myself the idea as soon as I can, and I put it in a folder. So the idea came from, at the time, homelessness in LA was really in Skid Row. And I was late to a thing, and I was going downtown, and I was using Waze to get around, and I passed by Skid Row 5 or 6 years ago, right? And I was like, I always say, if I had been standing, I would have been brought to my knees. I couldn't believe the state of these human beings living on the streets. And now we see it everywhere. And it's so sad to me. And I just felt a huge compassion for the people who have to live in that, condition, and that, how do we help them? That's the question. And for me, I help them because I'm an artist. So I can I'm a storyteller. So I can tell a story and get people to think. And at the time I thought homelessness is in our backyards, but it's invisible. Right. Yeah. So this is the story of a little girl who discovers a homeless woman in her backyard.
Yeah.
And she invites her inside for a play date, but her parents are distracted and don't notice because they're on their devices or at work, they're busy and they don't see. So it became this magical realism story about this little girl who invites someone in because she's lonely and wants to play. And this woman who's, has mental health challenges and goes into this world. So it's magical realism, and you don't know if the woman's real or not. Right now, you can see this film for free. It's on Omletto, which is omletto.com, which is a wonderful short film platform. And you type in Playdate, which is 2 words, and you can see it. And that film was, again, like a film that I didn't expect any results from. I just wanted to speak about not being judgmental, because every one of us has a story. And we don't know what someone's past is,
Yeah.
Their current situation doesn't always reflect their past. So that film is very special to me, and people, I think, love that film. You can watch that film with your kids.
It's a delightful film. It's like a fairy tale. It's
a modern day fable is what we call it.
It is a modern day fable. I really enjoy it. So I find it really interesting that you got into filmmaking because you had a flatbed editor in your closet when you were a kid. Is that true?
Do you even know what that is, Joel?
I do. I've actually cut on it a little bit.
I learned on one of those. But yeah, a Steenbeck. I mean, people who are in their 20s are like, they're what? What's a Steenbeck?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Could you imagine trying to even explain it? It's just this massive machine, very expensive.
Go to the Academy Museum, you can actually see one. They have it. I was like showing my kids. They have a huge one. But ours was 16 millimeter. But my dad, he was a radio personality. He's a DJ. He's still on the air. But
really,
we had his hobby. Yeah, but his hobby was filmmaking. So his radio name is Cousin Brucey, and he's very well known on the radio. He's radio royalty, really. Yeah. But he loved filmmaking. Now, he worked every single day, the night shift. I never saw my dad because I was at school when he was sleeping, right? I mean, I would be getting up, he was sleeping, and then I go to school and then he'd go to work. But I did see him on Sundays, and on Sundays we would make films because that was his love. And then we'd splice them together on this flatbed in our closet. But we made 16mm films. The best one that I can remember was The Great Cookie Bake. And so I really fell in love with everything about filmmaking, about directing, about writing, about shooting, about acting. And I think that brings me back to your multi-hyphenate, comment. Yeah. It was really the love of spending time with my dad. Filmmaking to me was spending time with my dad. And that's how I was, originally brought in.
Some of our hummingbirds have heard your dad on the radio.
Yeah.
Cousin Bruce.
Yeah, I see.
Where are you from?
Yeah,
You're
he
from
was on Sirius. Now he's actually, you can get it on WABC. Yeah.
You're
on
from
Alexa,
Brooklyn, right?
AM radio.
Was
He
it
moved,
Brooklyn
yeah.
where he was broadcasting from?
From Brooklyn. Woo! Woo!
So many
woo.
artists
Brooklyn
from
in the
Brooklyn.
house,
It's
people.
insane. So many Brooklyn people. My wife's from Brooklyn. Yeah, of course.
Oh, nice.
And
I
a
met
lot
your
of times
wife.
when I bring people on the show, they're from Brooklyn. I don't know. Brooklyn must be this incredible hotbed of creativity. Yeah. So
I'm married to someone from Michigan, and there's a lot of Michigan people.
Oh, yeah, there are.
Michigananders. How do you say it? Michiganders.
Michiganders.
Go Blue.
Yeah. So where'd you and your husband meet?
We met in LA. So I went to NYU Film School, knew I was
Yeah.
a filmmaker at a very young age, traveled around the world with a documentarian named Bud Greenspan, and he was an Olympic documentarian. It was super cool. But then I just thought the work was out here. So I came out in my 20s and met my husband and thought I'd go back to New York, but the rest is history. We have 2 girls and never went
How
back.
is
Here
it
I am.
balancing your art career and your family? How's that been for you?
Really, am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
Really effing hard. Oh my God. That is, especially as a woman. I mean, maybe that's sexist to say, but look, the fact is, my husband was making more money at his commercial real estate career than I was at my filmmaking career. So it just made sense that I spend more time raising the kids at home, but it definitely impacted it. And then you learn the balance, you learn it, you figure it out.
I like what you're doing, learning, because you're doing projects for money, and then you're doing projects that you just follow a thread, follow your own creative thread. And that is the ultimate balance, I think. Unless
Ding,
maybe,
ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
How did you manage to get yourself in a commercial way with your filmmaking? Because a lot of filmmakers, spend a lot of time in the independent world, and it's a great world to be in, but there's no money in it. How did you manage to get to that place?
I think that's sort of the golden question, but I will say how I did it.
Yeah.
You just make stuff, okay? And really, it was that trailer you just showed. It was Playdate that put me on the map. Mm-hmm. And I went to film festivals. You make a film, you do the best you can with what you have, the resources you have. I had that little playhouse in my backyard. I was like, what can I make using a playhouse? That's what you start with, right? Yeah. And then this theme of the homelessness and all of that. And then started entering it into film festivals. It got into some really good ones. And then I started meeting people at film festivals. And not only the programmers or the guests, not those people, but the filmmakers. Yeah. So one of the filmmakers I met, a producer, actor, wonderfully talented person named Kelly Perrine. Mm-hmm. He then went on to another fest. And he met the head of Sesame Street at that fest. And she asked him, do you make this kind of film? We're looking for filmmakers. And he said, no, but I know someone who does. And he connected her with me, and bingo. I applied, I sent my stuff. I was, and 7 years later, 14 films I've made for Sesame Street now. Wow. So you never know where it's going to come from. Again, just put yourself out there, speak your truth, make your work. Just make stuff. Don't wait for someone to hire you. And then it kind of get this momentum. Bingo. Thank you, Cappy. Bingo.
Now, so when you make a film for Sesame Street, do you pitch it to them? And then what's the process after that?
So here's the thing. They have two separate buckets. There's films that they have that are scripted that I do for them called Cookie Monster's Food Truck, Monster Foodies.
I've seen
Cookie
a couple.
Monster, another character, Gonger. Yeah. They go in their food truck to the farm where the food ingredient is made, and they learn how that is. So I shoot the live action scripted film that rolls in to the bigger Sesame Street episode in that segment. So, and again, it's hybrid scripted, right? So there's a lot of doc component, but it's also scripted. So there's that bucket. And then the other bucket that they have are, they request for pitch. I pitch them ideas for letter films and number films, the ones that we all grew up with, right?
Of course.
Ours. Yeah.
The count.
So I've done, and then they either buy that from you or they pass and they buy something else. But what's interesting is I've made 3 films for them. I made a film called D is for dog, and it was about a service dog and a little girl and her brother. And I made the number 9 with and I worked in a studio with 9 children.
I saw that
who were
one.
like
That one was good. Yeah.
circus. Yeah, I wish it were 3. I couldn't have gotten the number 3. It was so
Can I
hard.
please
We
get
did
3?
9. And then I just did, which is so cool, Lori Powers, who is the subject of my documentary Powers.
Yeah.
That's what the name comes from.
Yeah.
I pitched an idea, and the letter film is R is for reuse. So it's about a little boy and his auntie who go visit Lori Powers in her studio, and they make take recycled trash and they make it into art. And I just made that film after I made Powers. So again, the Powers led, being scrappy and out with my iPhone and passionate and love what I'm doing, led to that next job. So,
not only are you following your passions and your ideas and being a really open, creative person, you also have trained yourself quite a bit, right? I mean, you trained as an actor.
Yes.
You trained at where did you train? UCB and Berghoff Studios and all kinds of different places, right?
I study all the time. I still study. I still study with Tim Phillips. I coach. I take classes all the time as an actor. Self-taping classes, all of it. I think, and also practicing your craft is part of this. Just make stuff. Very smart director that I'm lucky enough to have been mentored by, Todd Holland. He always says this. He goes, there's like 4 steps to it, right? There's to being a working director. There's practice your craft, network, protect your joy, repeat. And the repeat is almost the most important part because it's constantly, it doesn't happen overnight. I've been at this a while. You have to be tenacious, and you have to keep practicing. Yes.
I'm interested in number 3, protect your joy. How do you do that? What do you do to protect your joy?
You do what you talked about earlier. You take jobs for money, and then you also do your passion projects that you just love. And you do a lot of mindfulness, and you balance, you balance with family. I mean, you've got, and be careful of Instagram and social media, like being on there too long, because it's very easy to fall down the rabbit hole of comparing yourself.
Oh my gosh. We always say compare and despair. Compare and
That's
despair.
The thing. So you just have to do you, do you.
I love that. I love that balance and the idea of protecting your joy. Protecting your joy also is doing things on your own terms, I guess. The other thing that really stood out to me today with what you were saying was you were saying that you get your ideas sometimes very quickly and you just write them down, which I think is super important. I just recently saw the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, which I highly recommend. It's on HBO. But they had Dolly Parton on there. And she was like, I don't know what I'm doing going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But she even wrote a rock song. But one of the things they mentioned was that the song I Will Always Love You and the song Jolene were written in the same day.
Wow.
And 2 of her most famous, certainly I Will Always Love You was one of the biggest hits ever. And Jolene is one of her biggest hits ever. And wrote them in the same day. So you got to be there to catch the magic when it comes. Sometimes you don't know when the magic's coming. Sometimes you don't even recognize it when it comes.
You don't. And so I email it to myself and I put it in a folder called ideas. I really recommend that because you put it in some random notebook, it gets shoved in your drawer, or you forget, or just do the same notebook every time, put it in the same place. I think that is so key because then you have this treasure chest.
Woody Allen apparently takes, we're not talking about Woody Allen's other proclivities that exclude him from our worshiping. But what I do want to say is he takes ideas for movies and he puts them in a drawer. And then when he goes to make a movie, he opens it up and looks for.
He does, and then he lifted one up and he reads it, and it's brilliant. You're like, oh my God, the guy's talented, but unfortunately, he's
He's been canceled. Okay, so I think that's it for the show. It's been so great having you on the show. There's so much more to mine here, I'm sure, but
Okay, well,
we have to
I
end the
have
show.
to
Yeah.
bring my
Oh,
guest star.
yes.
This is Finley.
Finley!
The best puppy in the entire world.
So
She's
happy to
adopted.
see Finley.
Yeah.
Welcome to Lunch
So
Therapy.
can I tell people where to follow me?
Yes.
Can I,
So
or check
please.
my website and if
Yeah.
you want to check out my films and see what I do or collaborate on something, check out what's my website? It's paigemorrowkimball.com. It's just my name. There it is. And see that? I tell stories through a lens of positivity.
I love that.
That's what I do. So if you're that, hit me up. And also you can follow me on Instagram at Paige Morrow Kimball and Facebook and all the rest.
All right. So I want to ask you one more thing about that. I'm a filmmaker. I tell stories through the lens of positivity. Do you think we are, as artists, we should be required to put good things out in the world? Don't you think that we have like a duty to try and make the world better with our art, or do we not?
Well, I think an artist just makes people feel. So there's all sorts of carnations of that, right? We can do it through happiness and joy. That's what I like. But there's lots of art that can be, very dark or even horror films can make you think or feel. I mean, it's about the human experience. So I think that's maybe a longer conversation. I know for me, I've tried to work in true crime and it was really hard for me. I could not survive in that world, producing true crime, and a lot of people can. So I think it depends on you. I think if you impact the people that you work with, perhaps in a positive way, maybe that's enough. That's a tough question.
It is a tough question. Maybe that's a panel or something.
That's a great topic that you should do that. As an artist, we're obligated to make people feel and be moved, maybe to action.
Yeah. I want to ask you one other thing too, is being a multi-hyphenate, like here you had to make a website and say, this is who I am. But sometimes it's hard to communicate who you are because you want to communicate it a particular way to a particular person because, do you think that things have changed in the filmmaking industry as far as being a performer and also being a director or producer, that maybe there's more opportunity to be that way, or maybe it's even expected now, maybe it's even necessary?
100%. I mean, I saw the change. I used to just have to, brand myself as only a director. Not anymore. Now you can be a hyphenate. Now it's completely opened up. And I think, part of the process of becoming into one's own, right? And I saw Lori Powers go through this too, is really accepting who we are. And you have to let go of what other people think about you because it's none of our business. What somebody else thinks about me is none of my business.
It's none of my business.
This was sort of over COVID. I redesigned my website and I decided I'm going to shout out that I'm a writer, director, producer, and actor because I am all of those things and I'm proud. And they all connect, and humanitarian who wants to make a difference in the world, and social by doing social impact films.
I mean, certainly somebody who knows how to edit makes them a better director. Somebody who knows how to act makes them a better director. Somebody who knows how to direct makes them a better editor. All these things feed on each other completely, right?
Oh, shoot. I have to add editor to this now. I don't know if there's any.
Right. Where's editor?
I edited Powers with Val Galdi, who edited by my side and held my hand a lot while I was learning.
Wow.
Yep. And DP.
That's so cool.
I shot with my iPhone S and now I'm a DP, right, Joel?
That's
There's
right.
No
yes, you are. There's no room for all that on there. Secret. It's your secret other powers. Always got to have more. All right, we're going to dance now.
I use Powers. All right, we're going to dance.
We're going to dance. We're going to end the show through the power of dance. And I'm going to bring Bloss back on. And let's get this thing going. I picked this out for you. I handpicked it because I knew this song was something that you used for a trailer of yours. And thanks Hummingbirds for being here. This is the dance break. We're going to rock on out of here.
All right.
Belle Harvey, all the way from Perth. This is Lucinda Williams, Can't Let Go. Yeah.
Told you, baby, one more time, you don't have to sit alone and cry when it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. I like a fish out of water, a cat in a tree. You don't even want to talk to me, but it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. Don't take me back when I come around. Says aside and puts me out. I got a big chain around my neck, now I'm broken down like a train wreck, and it's over. I know it, but I can't let go.
Thanks everybody for joining us today. Oh, we got a snowman. Yeah.
See, I got a candle
Love that
so bright
snowman.
in my window every night and it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. You don't like to see me stand around, feel like I've been shot, can't fall down, but it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. Don't take me back when I come around. Says aside and puts me out. I got a big chain around my neck, now I'm broken down like a train wreck, and it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. Come on, Brad. One more time.
I like the solo.
Turn off the trouble like you turn off a light. Went off and left me, but it just ain't right. It's over. No one but I can't let go. Around every corner there's something to see. It brings me right back where I used to be, and it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. Won't take me back when I come around. Sit aside and puts me out. I got a big chain around my neck, now I'm broken down like a train wreck, and it's over. I know it, but I can't let go. You wanna take me back when I come around. Sit aside and puts me out.
All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Lunch Therapy will be back on Tuesday. Good format for expressing multi-hyphenate positioning. I am a blank at the intersection of blank and blank.
But I can't
That's
let
right.
go.